Hello, everybody. I'm going to try this out. I haven't done too much with Screencastify in terms of lessons. I've just been filming videos of myself to kind of keep you guys in the loop. But today I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I've kind of been letting you guys know that we will be working on our books every now and then. You guys are welcome to go to the school and pick up books. You just have to let the school know that you are going to be there. Just check in. I'll have you do the hand sanitizer and all that good stuff. You may also need graph paper at some time in the next week or so. I'm going to leave some graph paper out at the school so that you can go and pick it up if you don't have any, or if you do have some, feel free to use that. But we will be needing graph paper relatively soon. I'll try to give you a little bit more of a heads up when I know when, but should be in the next few days. So with that being said, we're going to do a few examples in lesson 9 today, and then your other job is going to be doing a couple examples on your own and then putting your answers into a Google form. So I've got lesson 9 up. You guys can actually get into lesson 9 through your digital copy. Let me just pick one of the pre-algebra classes. So I'll pick D period here. If you guys look, the textbook's right here. It was posted on March 24th. This is the same exact thing as I'm using right here. So if you guys want to get into that, you can use a digital copy or you can use your hard copy if you do have it at home. But we're going to be doing 3 examples today. So our first example is actually going to be number 3. So Marvin paid an entrance fee of $5 plus an additional $1.25 per game at a local arcade. Altogether, he spent $26.25. Write and solve an equation to determine how many games Marvin played. So what I want you guys to do is take like 30 seconds, try to write an equation that represents this problem. Keep in mind you are probably going to want to use a variable in your equation. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to write my equation as well. All right, so let's take a look at my equation here. I've got $5, which is his entrance fee, plus $1.25 x, being $1.25 per game, so x is our games, equals $26.25. So I had a lot of you guys asking this week about solving two-step equations. We did Kahoots last week on two-step equations. We did some things in Khan Academy on them. Hopefully it's starting to feel a little bit more routine with how you would solve them. Think about what the first step for this two-step equation would be. Hopefully you're saying that you need to subtract 5 from each side. Now, please remember when you're subtracting, you do want to line up your place values here. So you do want your ones place to be subtracting from your ones place there. If it helps, you can call that $5 in total. These will cancel out, and we'll have $1.25 per game is equal to $21.25. So at this point, guys, I have told you already, and there's no way for me to enforce it anyways, but I've told you already that you are allowed to use calculators for something like this. Obviously, our next step is going to be dividing by 125 from each side. And when we do $21.25 divided by $1.25, we're going to find that x equals 17. So if we go back into the problem, Marvin paid an entrance fee of $5, additional $1.25 per game, and in total he spent $26.25. We wrote an equation and we solved it to determine that Marvin played 17 games. So hopefully that first one that you're looking at, you're saying, oh, that's really not bad at all. But if it's a little bit more challenging, and they will get a little bit more challenging, then we can kind of move on to something like number 4. The sum of 4 consecutive integers is negative 26. What are the integers? So first of all, you need to think about what the word consecutive means. Consecutive are numbers that are in a row. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, obviously, when we're talking about sum means addition. So if we're adding four numbers that are all in a row, those numbers have to be negative numbers. Now it's determining what these negative numbers are. So for number 4, why don't I actually label that as number 4? Let's start with x. That can be our first number. If x is our first number, what would our second number be? Yeah, it would be x plus 1. So that's our first number, our second number. Hopefully you guys are starting to see a little bit of a pattern. Our next number is going to be x plus 2. And our final number, you guessed it, is x plus 3. So the sum of 4 consecutive numbers. Well, sum means addition. So we are going to put addition signs in between each of those terms. And then it said that the sum of those numbers is going to be equal to, what number did it say? Negative 26. So, all right, equals negative 26. Now, if you guys remember those posters that we had up on the board before we left, or actually on the back wall before we left, the first step to solving any multi-step equation is to combine like terms and distribute to simplify. So we can combine all of our x's, and there's 4 of them. So we can call that 4x. We can also combine 1 plus 2 plus 3. Well, 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. And all of that is going to be equal to negative 26. I think for you guys, the hardest part is going to be coming up with the equation. I think solving the equation, most of you guys are going to do really well with it. But I think coming up with the equation is going to be the tricky part. So just be careful with that. I'm always open to answering questions if you guys do have questions. So keep that in mind as well. So now we can solve. First step to solving this equation is going to be subtracting 6 from each side, because that's going to get our term with the variable on one side and our terms without the variable on the other side. Well, 6 minus 6, that's 0. Those will cancel out. We'll be left with 4x equals negative 32. So be careful here. I know that a lot of you guys are probably going to write negative 20 there instead, but that, because we're starting with a negative and then subtracting, we are getting more negative as our answer. So with that being said, the last step is going to be dividing by 4, and that's going to tell us that x is equal to negative 8, because when we take a negative and divide by a positive, we get a negative answer. Now, that actually doesn't answer the whole problem, because if we go back to that problem says, what are the integers, not just what is x? Well, if we go back and we say, hey, integer number 1 was just x, then our first one was negative 8. Our next one then is negative 7, followed by, well, negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6, and negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. So in order to have the whole answer to this, you need to have negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, and negative 5 for your answer. Negative 8 and negative 7 is negative 15, plus negative 6 is negative 21, plus negative 5 is negative 26. So we did find the correct answer there as well. So like I said, if you guys are having trouble with this, or if you didn't quite understand where I got one of my things or one of my answers, equation, why I subtracted instead of adding, ask me questions. Put those questions in the chat section under this video. Put your questions through email. I usually respond to those pretty quick. I've been trying really to respond to you guys really quickly, but sometimes I'm making these videos while you guys are doing your things. So I might not always be able to respond within 2 minutes, but let's look at one more problem. And that last problem is number 5. Once again, I think the hardest part is going to be coming up with the equation. So let me read this and give you a little bit of time to see if you can come up with the equation. A book has X pages. How many pages are in the book if Maria read 45 pages of a book on Monday, half the book on Tuesday, and the remaining 72 pages on Wednesday? Whew, that's a tough one. So take a minute or two, try to write an equation for this. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to try to write an equation for it as well. So here's the equation that I came up with. See if yours is similar to it. 45 is the first day. She read 45 pages. Half of the book literally means we're taking half times however many pages there are in the book. But we don't know how many pages are in the book, so we're going to call it X. Then from there, do you need that? No?
Not there, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, the computer? No, it's not. Okay. So we're going to start with 45 being the number of pages from the first night. And then we're going to look at 1/2 X, half of the pages of the book. And we don't know the pages of the book, so we are going to use X to represent that. And 72, the remaining 72 pages in the last night. Those three together should total the number of pages in the book. And once again, we don't know the number of the pages in the book, so we're going to call it X. So if you remember, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms and distribute. Well, we can't distribute anything, but what we can do is we can combine like terms, 45 and 72. So when we combine 45 and 72, we get 117 plus 1/2 X equals X. Our next step is to get the terms with the variables all to one side of the equation. And right now, there's terms with variables on both sides of the equation. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to subtract 1/2 X from each side of the equation. Those will cancel out. We'll have 117 equals 1/2 X. What do you think the last step is going to be for this? And I'm actually okay with two answers. So some of you guys are going to say divide by 1/2, and that's perfectly fine. But one of the really easy ways to cancel out 1/2 or multiplying by 1/2 is by multiplying by 2. Because if you multiply a half by 2, you get 1 whole. So I'm actually going to do that instead. I'm going to multiply this by 2, which means I need to multiply this other side by 2 as well. So when I do that, these will cancel out, and I'll have X all by itself equal to 234. So in the context of this problem, that means that the book had 234 pages. All right, so I did 3 examples. I think the most challenging part right now, like I said, is going to be coming up with the right equation to represent these problems. I think you guys do a pretty good job with solving those equations, considering what I've seen on Khan Academy, what I've seen on Edpuzzle, and everything like that. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do for the last part of class today is 3 more problems. So I did 3 with you. Now I want you to do 3 without me. Just to see how you guys are doing with it and see if I can help out in any way. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is number 6, 7, and 8. 8 is going to be very challenging. We have to remember that the word perimeter means the outside of the rectangle. So we're going to add up all of the sides. But if you can remember that and that area is length times width, then you should be all set with that problem there. I'm going to have you guys put your answers into a Google form. So I'll just say number 6, what'd you get? Number 7, what'd you get? Number 8, what'd you get? And if I see that some people got some wrong answers, we might have a Google Hangout or a Google Meet sometime so that you guys can ask questions as well. I also plan on posting the answers to this so that you can look over things along with the work. So be prepared, look out for that. But good luck with this stuff, guys. And if you have any questions along the way, please let me know. We'll see you guys tomorrow.